My name is Sophia. I had no idea I'd be telling this story. But after seeing what Jesus showed me when I died, I know I have to do it. I couldn't keep what I saw to myself because it was so important for this time in history. It took place on October 10, 2020. I was on my way home from working as a nurse at St. Mary's Hospital. Today had been long, and I couldn't wait to see my husband and our 2 kids when I got home. The last thing I remember is seeing headlights on that wet road coming toward me. After that, everything changed. My family later learned that the doctors said I had been dead for 5 minutes and 22 seconds. But where did I go in those minutes? It seemed like a very long time. Jesus showed me that people will be tricked into getting the mark without even realizing it. This still shakes me to the core. As soon as the crash happened, I felt like I was flying above my body. I could see the rescuers working hard to bring me back to life, but I didn't feel any pain or fear. I just felt very peaceful. They quickly but carefully loaded my broken body into the ambulance, and I watched as they did it. One of them, a young guy with kind eyes, was working and praying quietly. I wanted to let him know it was okay, and that I was no longer in pain, but I couldn't. Then the light started to fill everything around me. It wasn't like natural or artificial light. It looked like pure, live light came from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. As the scene with the fireman ended, I felt like I was being pulled up and around by an amazing light. I heard his voice at that point. He called me Erica, and I knew right away that it was her. I knew it was Jesus with all my heart, even though I couldn't see his face at first because the light was so bright. His presence made me feel so loved and in charge that tears ran down my spiritual face. I could see him better after my eyes got used to the light. His look was both recognizable and hard to describe. I felt like I knew and understood everything about him because his eyes were filled with such love and wisdom. I told him about every mistake, question, and fear I had ever had, but his love never changed. He told her, "My child, I brought you here for a reason. What I'm about to show you needs to be shown to my people. A lot of people are asleep, and the lie that is coming is worse than they think." There were times when I could talk, but not with words. I said, "Lord, I'm just a nurse. Who's going to pay attention?" He smiled softly but firmly. "I've always used the humble to trick the smart. Don't worry about who will hear you. You need to tell other people about what I show you. I'll handle the rest." As soon as he said these words, Jesus grabbed my hand and we were standing in what looked like a normal city street. But I had a feeling we were seeing things that would happen soon. It looked a lot like the world we live in now, but there were some small changes. Jesus told us to pay close attention and see how the enemy will try to trick even the chosen ones, if he can. The scene we saw was full of people and things going on. As they went about their regular business, people walked by us, but there was something off about them. It looked like everyone was using technology together in a way that was different from anything I had seen before. A woman walked into a coffee shop, which I saw. She didn't use her phone or card to pay. The deal was finished with just a wave of her hand over a sensor. As she did this, a small light under her skin lit up for a short time. I asked the Lord, "Is this the mark of the beast?" Jesus said, "No, this comes before. Pay attention to how the lie plays out." The scene changed, and I saw many pictures of how this technology had been slowly spread around the world. At first, it was just small chips that were used instead of credit cards, house keys, and medical information. They were accepted by everyone, even Christians, who saw them as just useful tools for modern life. I saw whole congregations of people in church welcome these devices with open arms. They used them to read their digital Bibles, give tithes, and see what events were going on at church. No one asked about it because there was no worship or swearing loyalty to anything or anyone. Or at least that's what they thought. "Listen," Jesus said, his voice full of worry. "How the enemy starts by putting things in your way that seem safe or even helpful. Satan knows that if things change quickly, my people will notice. He moves more slowly, like a snake slowly wrapping itself around its prey. The scene kept going on in front of us. The technology improved and became a bigger part of everyday life. Soon, the gadgets were keeping an eye on people's health, spotting illnesses before they happened, and even controlling their mood and sleep patterns by making small biochemical changes. "My child," Jesus said, noticing how amazed I was by these changes. "Don't forget that not everything that shines is gold. The enemy is very good at hiding his lies in pretty paper." I watched as parents rushed to get these gadgets put in their kids. They would say it's for their own safety. We can now always find out where they are, check on their health, and make sure they are safe at school. The technology was sold to kids as a way to keep them safe in a world that is getting more and more dangerous. I told the Lord, "I can see how helpful this all seems. How can we tell people not to do something that seems to be so helpful?" His eyes were very sad as he looked at me. This is what makes the trick work so well. The enemy knows that my people would not accept something that is clearly bad. So he comes as a bright angel, giving help and saying that life will get better. I saw how the technology started to change people's actions in small ways. People who had the implants relied on them more and more for everything, from controlling their feelings to making choices. The gadgets would tell you what to eat, when to sleep, who to hang out with, and even what to think about certain things. Jesus told me to pay close attention to this and pointed out a family having dinner. Kids and adults were sitting together in the scene, but something wasn't right. The way they talked and how they felt seemed like they were reading from a script. The devices had a subtle effect on their emotions, thoughts, and even who they were as people. Why can't they see what's going on? I asked, and the sight broke my heart. Jesus answered that they only see the good things. They expect to be healthier, more stable, and able to do things more easily. They don't understand that by giving up these short-term comforts, they're giving up their free will and their ability to choose me freely. The view changed and showed me scenes from all over the world. I saw how the technology was used in different cultures in different ways, but the goal was always the same: to control and rely on people. It was pushed in some places by healthcare organizations. In some cases, it's through cash incentives. Sometimes it's because of peer pressure and the fear of falling behind. The word was the same everywhere, though. This is progress, it's important, and it's good. I saw how people who didn't agree with the technology were pushed to the edges. People called them conspiracy nuts, anti-progress, or just scared of change. People who spoke out about problems were often told they were crazy or didn't believe God would protect them, even in churches. Jesus quoted the Bible to say, "My people are dying because they don't know." They forgot that I told them to be as smart as snakes and as pure as doves. They have turned their attention to the wisdom of this world and forgotten the knowledge that comes from above. When the scene changed again, I saw how technology was changing the growth of children. Kids who had these implants as kids showed small but noticeable differences from kids who didn't have them. Their ability to think for themselves, feel real emotions, and be spiritually sensitive all got worse. Jesus said the enemy goes after children because they will believe anything their parents tell them, even if they know it's not true. A whole generation is getting ready for what's to come. I saw how this technology was changing the way schools work. Kids were told that their implants were just a normal part of their bodies and that they were a part of who they were. It was told to them that they should believe their devices more than their own instincts, their parents' advice, and finally God's word. "Lord," I begged, my voice shaking. "This breaks my heart. Why can't people see where this is going?" Jesus responded that it was because they were looking with physical eyes and not spiritual ones. It looks good on the outside, but they don't see the emotional cost. They only see the short-term benefits and not the long-term effects. The scene in front of us changed quickly and dramatically. I saw that the whole world was in chaos. Banks going out of business, power lines going down, and supply chains breaking down. People were scared and needed help badly. Jesus told them to pay attention, because this is how the mark will be shown. I saw world leaders announcing a new plan on TV sets all over the place. Everyone had become used to the old technology, which would have to be replaced with a new, safer system. They said it was the right thing to do to stop more disasters. He told them to pay attention to how they present it. I saw how the media talked about the update. It was shown as just the next step up from what people already had. On TV, religious leaders told their people that it wasn't the mark of the beast, but just technology. They said that they didn't have to worship anyone or swear allegiance to a boss. He then said, "I will show you what they can't see." All of a sudden, I could see the spiritual world next to the physical one. What I saw scared me to death. As people got the upgrade, a light darkness crept into their hearts. At first, it wasn't clear. They could still read their Bibles, pray, and go to church. But now something was different. Jesus told them that the mark would not be pushed on them at first. It will be gladly and freely accepted. The enemy knows that making my people suffer makes them stronger. He will instead lie about the mark to make it look like a normal and good step forward. In the image, I saw weeks and months go by. People who agreed to the upgrade started to change in small ways. Their prayers stopped being as sincere and became more robotic. Their worship turned into a routine rather than a friendship. The most important thing was that they lost the ability to tell spiritual truth apart. I asked the Lord, why can't they see what's going on? He answered that it was because the change was slow. For them, being cut off from my spirit is like a frog in water that slowly heats up. They don't notice it until it's too late. The vision showed me how the improvement changed various parts of society. In healthcare, it offered perfect tracking of health and treatment that would happen on its own. In business, it provided full safety and open access to all resources. It was said to help people understand and talk to each other better in relationships. But seeing families make the choice together broke my heart the most. Parents would get their kids together and tell them that this upgrade would protect them, help them do well in school, and secure their future in the New World Order. They really thought they were taking care of their kids' best interests. Jesus told them to pay close attention. Watch how they use fear to get people who aren't sure to do it. I saw on the news that kids weren't able to go to school, people were losing their jobs, and families couldn't afford food or drugs. There was a lot of pressure to agree to the update. There was disagreement among churches about the matter, and many leaders pushed for acceptance so that churches could keep their message in the world. God the Son said in a sad voice, "My child, can you see how the enemy tricks people with good intentions? They believe they are being responsible parents and citizens by making these decisions, but what they are really doing is deciding to be apart from me." It changed its focus to show me the technology itself. It was no longer just a physical device. It had become a part of human awareness in some way. Changes were being made to people's ideas, feelings, and even their ability to connect spiritually. Jesus said this is the real danger. The mark changes who they are as well as what they can buy or sell. It changes the image of God that they were made in. I saw how the upgrade had different effects on different groups. Older people often fought. At first because they remembered when things were easier. People in their middle years generally agreed with it because it made sense. But young people were excited about it because they saw it as the next step in human progress. Lord, I asked, what will happen to those who agree to this? Jesus looked serious as he told me about the spiritual results. Those who accept it voluntarily seal their fate for all time. The update changes more than just their bodies, it also changes how they can connect with me. They can't understand spiritual truth or feel the force of the Holy Spirit anymore. What horrified me was seeing people who used to be strong Christians slowly lose their faith. Even though they still said sacred things, their hearts were hard. They knew how to quote the Bible, but they couldn't feel its power. They talked about God, but they couldn't hear Him. Lord, I asked, what about those who don't give up? The scene changed, and I saw a different group, the people who had turned down the increase. They were having more and more problems. They couldn't go to regular stores to buy food or public schools for their kids. A lot of people lost their jobs. On the other hand, mentally, they were like lights in the growing darkness. "That's who I love," Jesus said with a deep love in his voice. Because they keep their mental eyes open, they can see things that other people can't. They have studied my word and learned to separate truth from lies. I saw as these Christians got together to support each other, share resources, and help those who were having a hard time. They weren't scared or angry. At the same time, they were calm and sure of what they believed. What should people keep an eye on? I asked. How are they going to know when this starts? First, keep an eye out for technology that says it can make you better than the way I made you. Though the enemy will offer ways to make the mind and body better, these will cost the soul. Second, pay attention to when ease turns into a must. What starts out as a choice will slowly become important for everyday life. Third, pay close attention to how kids use technology. The enemy goes after kids because they know that they will be more open to what their parents might question. Fourth, look at how it changes the way people feel about me. Anything that makes you less spiritually sensitive, closer to prayer, or less guilty of sin is bad. These are alerts. He then showed me something lovely. It was very dark, but I could see light coming through. People who had refused the mark were being looked after and protected in mysterious ways. They were at peace, which didn't make sense given what was going on. Jesus told me, "My people will not be left alone. I will take care of those who stay true to me, just like I did for Elijah by the stream and for the Israelites in the desert." There were angels around the homes of Christians, keeping them safe. I saw a miraculous supply, like food growing indefinitely and needs being met in ways I didn't expect. Most importantly, I saw their faith in Jesus grow stronger and deeper as they went through hard times. I asked the Lord, what should people do to get ready? It was clear what Jesus meant. Tell them to make their relationship with me stronger right now, before they lie to you. They have to know my voice really well to tell when something isn't from me. Tell them to really study my words. They can find the answers, but they need to know the truth to spot the lies. Tell them to get to know other Christians in a real way. In the future, they will need each other. Tell them to teach their kids to love me more than the things that make life easy. Most of all, tell them not to be afraid. As long as people stay true to me, they will share in my win over the world. I felt a pulling feeling all of a sudden. Christ told them, "It's time for you to come back. Do not forget what you have seen." I told him, "Lord, I really want to ask you a lot more." He smiled with love in his heart. "It's enough what I showed you. Share it without fail. People who can hear will pay attention." The next thing I knew, I was back in my body, surrounded by hospital gear and people who looked scared. I was more amazed by what I had seen than by how well I had recovered. That was 6 months ago. In the ways Jesus showed me, I've seen technology keep getting better since then. I remember his words every time I hear about digital implants or the use of biotechnology in everyday life. Some people ask me if I don't like technology. I'm not. I still use my computer and phone. But I'm very careful with anything that has to do with the mind or body of a person. Jesus showed me a line that will be crossed. You can't go back once you cross it. Jesus made it clear that time is running out, so I'm telling this story now. The technology that will lead to the mark is already being worked on. The problem that will make it necessary is coming up soon. Please pay attention if you're reading this. Read your Bible, pray for wisdom, make strong bonds with other Christians, and most importantly, get so close to Jesus that you'll be able to spot anything that tries to get in the way of your relationship with him. Do not forget that the mark will not be a clear bad thing. It will come as a way to get better and solve problems. But no comfort is worth giving up your relationship with God. Christ told me that many people would not believe this message, and that's fine. Not everyone has to agree with me. I'm just going to share what I saw. People who are looking for the truth will be able to tell it. Please do not feel scared while reading this. Jesus showed me that he will take care of and protect his followers more than enough. Work on your connection with him right now, while you still have time, and remember what he said.